Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. Picture a scenario literally every IT professional knows way too well. The system is down, the alerts are screaming, and the clock is ticking. You need answers, and you need them fast. Now, today we rely heavily on large language models to help us firefight these exact situations. But with so many options out there, Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini, which AI actually helps IT support engineers more? So, three AIs walk into a support ticket. I know. It sounds like the setup to a bad tech joke, but honestly, choosing the right one is the difference between accelerating your day-to-day triage, debugging, and communication, or just adding more noise to the chaos. And that is exactly what we are answering today. We're going to put the top three foundation models through a realistic, high-pressure incident response scenario to see exactly where they shine and, honestly, where they completely fall flat. Section 1. The Contenders. Establishing the baseline. Before the servers catch fire, let's establish exactly who we have in the room, based on the 2026 Frontier Model landscape. To keep things totally practical for your everyday workflows, we ran these tests using the free tiers at Claude.ai, chat.openai.com, and Gemini.google.com. We're looking at three distinct philosophies here. First, ChatGPT 5.2 acts as the reference standard for general IT scripts. Then we have Anthropic's Claude 4.6, often called the careful thinker, which is known for deep, multi-step reasoning. And finally, Google's Gemini 3.1 Pro, which brings an absolutely massive 1 million token context limit to the table. So, how do these philosophies actually hold up under pressure? Let's find out. Test 1. JSON logs, diagnosing the system failure. All right, the pager just went off. We are starting our trial by fire with a sprawling, messy system failure. Your application crashed, and all you have is a massive dump of raw data. The task is pretty straightforward, but completely grueling. We sent an identical 100,000-line JSON error log into the free tiers of all three models simultaneously. We didn't give them a single hint. We just told them to analyze it and find the exact root cause. Find the needle in the haystack. The results here show a really clear divide. Now, you might assume Gemini would easily win this, right? Because of its 1 million token context window, it can literally swallow the entire log file whole. But it actually suffers from what's called context rot. It's kind of like a human trying to read a giant textbook in one single sitting. Its ability to accurately recall specific details from the middle of that file severely degrades. ChatGPT is super consistent, but it really struggles with the sheer volume of this specific file size, and that leaves Claude as the clear winner for complex diagnosis. The absolutely crucial point here is that Claude 4.6 maintains a highly impressive 76% retrieval accuracy deep inside those sprawling logs. It doesn't just skim the data. It applies deep, chained reasoning for root cause analysis. Actually, it's more like having a senior engineer methodically tracking the architectural failure across different components, rather than just doing a quick keyword match on an error code. It's a real game changer for diagnosis. Test 2. SQL generation, implementing the database fix. Okay, thanks to Claude, we know it broke. Now let's move to the next phase of the incident and actually write the patch. We asked all three AIs to translate a simple natural language problem description into a highly specific production-ready SQL query to isolate the affected records. This requires incredibly strict logical formatting. One wrong character and the database just rejects it entirely. When it comes to writing the code, ChatGPT gets the green light. Our sources confirm that GPT 5.2 remains the absolute reference standard for stable multi-step database queries. It handles joins and subqueries with just industry-leading consistency. Claude is definitely a very mature, capable alternative, but ChatGPT is just a bit sharper on pure SQL generation. Gemini, while it's incredibly fast, occasionally stumbles with inconsistent logic on these rigid data tasks. But hold on a second. Before you go copying and pasting that code straight into production, I have a massive word of warning for IT support. General AIs like ChatGPT will confidently hallucinate schema names if you don't explicitly provide them. Yes, it knows how to write SQL perfectly, but it does not know your database tables. You absolutely must provide the schema context, or you're going to get a query that looks beautiful but fails instantly. Test 3. The post-mortem, stakeholder communication. Right, so the database is patched, the system's back up, and the crisis is averted. Phew. But your job isn't done yet. Now you have to explain what just happened to the board, your clients, or your non-technical stakeholders. We prompted the models to draft an incident postmortem. The goal here is tricky. Create a draft that sounds professional, objective, and accessible to a non-technical executive, all without losing the core technical truth of what actually happened. Claude completely dominates this communication test. It produces a really natural, nuanced human voice. ChatGPT surprisingly tends to slip into these unnecessary poetic metaphors when trying to explain technical concepts to non-technical people. It's a bit too flowery. Gemini is clear and friendly, sure, but our sources point out it can be scientifically undisciplined. Basically, that means it might gloss over critical constraints or uncertainties just to sound helpful and polite. Claude actively avoids all these critical pitfalls. It keeps the post-mortem entirely grounded and objective. It doesn't rely on overly optimistic phrasing or those weird metaphors. It just gives you a clean, structured, and highly professional draft that requires far less editing from you before you hit send to the executive team. Section 5. The final verdict. Optimizing your support workflow. Okay, the incident is officially closed, stakeholders are informed, and you can finally catch your breath. Looking back at this whole exercise, what's the big takeaway? Ultimately, you need a multi-vendor strategy. There isn't just one magic AI that perfectly handles every single step of an IT incident. So here's the optimal workflow. If you need to quickly triage an endless stream of docs or logs, lean on Gemini's speed and huge context window. For reliable, stable SQL generation or just general scripting, fire up ChatGPT. And for deep, multi-step debugging or high-stakes executive communication, Claude is absolutely your best bet. I'll leave you with this final thought. You really shouldn't choose an AI just based on some raw benchmark scores. Instead, ask yourself, which model prevents my team's most expensive failure modes? Is it a misdiagnosed log, a hallucinated database query, or maybe a poorly worded message to your board? Understanding exactly where these tools break down is how you unlock their real power. So, look at your own workflow. Which of these expensive mistakes is going to dictate your primary AI platform tomorrow?